Hello, welcome, and thank you for joining us today for the next in our series of What's New webinars. In today's webinar, we'll cover some of the newest features from Microsoft 365 that you can implement in your business, as well as covering some brand new features that give us a bit of an insight into the future of what we need to look out for and what's coming soon. Don't feel like you need to take it all in straight away or take notes, as we'll be sending out a recording of the webinar later today, along with a follow-up fact sheet. Also, if you have any questions, please do feel free to drop those into the Q&A box at the side at any time. I'll do my best to keep an eye on those as we go along, but there will also be some dedicated time for questions at the end of the webinar as well. So let's take a look at what we'll be covering in today's webinar. We'll be looking at simplified sharing options across multiple accounts in Microsoft Teams. We'll be looking at updates to Viva goals to improve employee engagement. There are some OneDrive and SharePoint updates and new organisational features that we need to look at. And then we'll be looking at the new look for Outlook reminders, followed by removing Teams calls from your mobile call log. I think that's the one that I'm particularly looking forward to when that's available, and we'll talk through that towards the end of the webinar. Finally, we'll be finishing up with what's next steps for your business, as well as the next steps for this webinar series. So let's start with a welcome for those of you who may not be familiar with us. My name is Jennifer Benge, and I am the marketing manager at Bedroq. Bedroq is an IT managed service provider and Microsoft solutions partner for modern work. This means that most of the IT we implement is based on the Microsoft stack. So that includes Microsoft 365, Microsoft Teams, Azure, etc. If you'd like to know more about what us being a solutions partner means for you and your business, take a look at our website, and there are some explainer articles there for you. We're also experts in secure, resilient networks and managed IT solutions where high performance is critical. This means that we work with organisations that have some of the highest security requirements in the UK. We manage mission critical IT and operational technology for highly regulated organisations. The most important thing we want to achieve, no matter what your organisation does, is to help you make sure that your IT strategy is supporting your business as a whole. We do this with the help of our 8 strategic rocks, which you can see on the screen here. These are skills, data, backup, strategy, investment, security, quality of service, and collaboration. The collaboration rock is the focus of this particular webinar series, as most of the tools that we're talking about within Microsoft 365 are collaboration tools. And we just want to make sure that, as the majority of you will already be investing in these apps in Microsoft 365, that you're getting the most value out of that investment. So let's kick off with some of the new features that we'll be covering today. Multi-tenant collaboration in Teams. So this is a new feature that probably won't apply to all of you, but I know it does apply to quite a few, so I wanted to make sure that we covered it. So for businesses that have gone through a merger or acquisition process, or global companies that have subsidiaries around the world, they may end up needing to use and manage multiple Microsoft tenants. So for those of you who don't know, that is sort of the main account hub for their business. This also applies to consultants who are working long-term with multiple businesses. So working across different businesses on different days, they're going to have multiple logins to be using. Things can get messy very quickly. Not only is it hard to stay productive when you're constantly having to log in and out and switch between Microsoft accounts, but it can also cause problems for data security and compliance. This new update means that if you're working across multiple tenants, you'll be able to do everything you need to do without having to switch between those accounts. So users will now have the ability to search for colleagues in another tenant, open a new chat thread with other users across tenants, and receive real-time notifications no matter which view they're currently looking at. They can also join meetings and calls in another tenant and just basically multitask across all of their accounts from their main home tenant. This is rolling out now, so you'll soon notice that users can now work across these multiple tenants. So if that's you in particular, if you're one of these consultants doing that, you'll notice that you're able to do this around about now or coming soon. And you can also see all of your accounts in side-by-side windows, as you can see in this screenshot here. You'll be able to join meetings or collaborate in a channel hosted by another tenant, and also while you're doing that, simultaneously compose chat messages in the other tenant that you're part of. Users can receive cross-tenant notifications for all accounts within the Teams app, no matter which one is currently in focus. So I think it's good news and bad news, because if you're particularly wanting to focus on one particular organization or one particular account on one day, you might find that notifications coming in from other accounts could get distracting. But if you're wanting to multitask across loads of different accounts, it's going to make things a lot simpler for you, so that you're not having to constantly log in and out to see what that latest message was that's just popped in. Is this only new Teams or Classic too? This is rolling out across all Teams platforms, so it should be becoming available across all of the platforms, whichever one you're using at the moment. That's a question that's just come in. Sorry, I'd just quickly answer that one while we're here. So the next part of this multi-tenant collaboration update means that previously, if you were doing a search for a colleague across all your different organizations, it could often return multiple results for the same person. So you'd see their account pop up in your home tenant, but also in sort of other global locations or wherever else they have accounts. With this update, searching for a colleague will always return a single result with their home tenant name, helping you to identify the correct colleague and keep your conversations in one place. So rather than ending up with different chats across loads of different accounts, even if it's with the same person, you'll be able to keep an eye on it and just keep all of your chats and information in one place and go back and find the information you need there. So these updates are the next step up from the Teams shared channel feature that we discussed a few months ago, and just allow you to do complete full collaboration across multiple tenants. To enable this capability in Teams, admins will need to configure their tenant in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. And as I say, it is available now on the Teams Windows client app, and it's coming soon to iOS, Android and Mac OS in the future. So at the moment, you're only going to see this rolling out sort of immediately if you're in the Teams Windows client app, but look out for this coming soon to those other options as well. Okay, next up, we have some updates to Viva Goals. I know quite a few of you use Viva Goals, and I think you'll like this update because it generally makes things a lot more user-friendly and easier to share some updates across your organisation without having to do loads of manual work. So there are a few updates coming to Viva Goals, which aim to increase visibility, alignment and engagement across the organisation. It will also decrease the amount of manual work it takes to set, share and manage your goals. So the first of these updates is on the screen now, and this is goal broadcasts. So there are various reports out there, not just by Microsoft, by other companies as well, that show that the number one thing that employees are asking for in terms of their goals is just more regular updates. They just want to know, where are they against the goals, or where is the whole business against the wider business goals. And it's something that is really important if you want to keep that employee engagement high. So often changes and outcomes of leadership meetings don't always make their way down to employees who need this information to be at their most productive. It's not always easy to manage this as a manual process, especially when you're having to wait for updates across multiple teams in the business and just trying to get everyone to put the right information into a place where it can be shared with everyone. So that's what this new feature aims to solve. So with goal broadcasts, leaders can now share updates on goals to all members of their team directly from Viva Goals during key moments, as well as during sort of set stages of the goal cycle. So for example, when you're finishing off a goal that you set yourself earlier in the year, or during a whole business update meeting, and at the end of the goal cycle as well, to summarise the highlights, learnings and opportunities for improvement. So how does this work? Obviously, you need to be using Viva Goals already for this to work. From there, you just click on the share button directly from your team's OKR view and select share and update, and a draft email will be loaded up for you with text placeholders for section titles. All you need to do is simply fill out the information most relevant to your team, and then team members will receive actionable emails in Outlook and can react and comment on updates, improving engagement along with visibility. So something to bear in mind as well is at the moment, so that email pops up and just gives you text placeholders that you need to fill in. But when Copilot in Viva Goals is released later this year, Copilot will also write that first draft of the summary for you. So using that AI capability that Copilot will have, it will write that draft of a summary using the content from the check-in information within Viva Goals, and just basically give you an entire email that is ready to go out. So you'll just have to do a quick read through, check that you're happy with everything that's been written, and you can immediately share that with the wider team. So this is just going to make it 100 times easier to share all of that goal information across the organisation without having to sort of drag it all in manually. The next new feature is the personalised activity feed, which is also available now. So with the personalised activity feed, all users, including non-goal owners, have clear visibility on the progress of their most relevant goals, all in a single landing page, which you can see an example of here. So users can engage with updates and ask deeper questions to drive their tasks, and also the whole business, drive the whole business forward. So how does this one work? What you need to do is click on the feed in the left navigation bar, and Viva Goals users can see status updates from leaders and relevant stakeholders, with the option to react and comment directly within the activity feed. So this is the perfect place for users to catch up on what's happening within goals across their team, their own personal goals, and the whole organisation as well. The activity feed is personalised for the user and is relevant to the goals related to them. So this feature helps Viva Goals users understand at a glance what's the top of mind for leaders within their organisation, so that, you know, if they're going into a one-to-one with a manager, for example, they can really have a productive conversation about, I know this is the main goal, what can I do to contribute towards that, or here's what I have done to contribute towards that. And it just overall helps everyone to make better decisions on the workflow and where's best to spend your kind of daily work time to contribute towards those overall goals. The other updates that we've got coming to Viva Goals are that by the end of September, so might not be available just quite yet, but do keep an eye out, you'll be able to see people's goals in their profile cards in Outlook. So all you'll need to do is hover over their user avatar and it will display all of the information that you're sort of used to seeing, all their contact information, etc. But it will also now have the addition of the employees' team level goals. So it just essentially keeps all of those goals front of mind for everyone on a daily basis, rather than waiting for the next whole company get together to look at where we are with our goals. It just keeps them front and centre, so everyone actually remembers what their team goals are, what the whole organisation goals are, and just gives people focus on what they need to be doing on a daily basis. Also available now on the right hand side, you can see a screenshot there, is the ability to export and share your goals in PowerPoint. So you can see in that screenshot, all you need to do is click the export button in the drop down option, which will then take you to PowerPoint. So after clicking that export button, your goals and progress will be seen in PowerPoint, and that way you can just share it as it is or edit it in any way that you might need to do for your presentation. Again, it just cuts out that manual step of going to where the goals are kept or where they're referred to and dragging them across manually. That's just wasted time. This is aiming to cut out that bit of admin and just make it really easy for you to automatically see your goals and present them in a way that makes sense for you. So those are the main ones. There are a few other smaller updates to Viva goals, but I thought that's probably enough for one session. And these are the key ones that I thought would have the biggest impact for you. But if you are a Viva goals user, I'd say there has been quite a lot of updates going on for Viva goals. So keep an eye out for a few little changes, which will hopefully make Viva goals even more useful to you as an organisation. Okay, next up, we're looking at some updates to OneDrive and SharePoint. So these are mostly what Microsoft are calling personalization and organization changes, which are coming to OneDrive and SharePoint. And the first of these is the option to color code your folders. It's pretty much what it says on the tin. With this update, you will just be able to color code your folders. If that's something that sounds like it'll be useful to you or interesting to you, then look out for this because it is coming anytime now, really. We've been told it's between August and October this year. If you did want to kind of code different areas of your work, different workflows by color, this will make it really easy for you to do. So as you can see there's a range of colors to choose from. You can do it by when you are creating the folder or edit the folder at a later date. And you can just color code what you've got. And if that makes things easier for you, then great news. There you go. It's a simple new feature to look out for. Next up, within the OneDrive and SharePoint updates, we've got some accessibility updates to SharePoint. So there are 2 accessibility updates coming to SharePoint pages that will improve things from an accessibility point of view and just help page authors to ensure that their pages are accessible for people who are using a screen reader. So on the left, this update is for images, giving you the option to mark an image as decorative, which will then be ignored by screen reading technology, or to include alternative text to describe the image. To mark an image as decorative, open the Details property window and then just scroll to the Accessibility section. Under the alternative text box, a new toggle is available there just for you to select if the image should be marked as decorative, and therefore will just kind of be completely ignored by that screen reading technology, just to focus on the text that actually makes an impact for that person reading it. In this screenshot on the right, this update will only allow you to have one heading 1. So this is reserved for the page title in the title area. This leaves you with heading titles levels 2 to 4 for the rest of the page. This just makes it easier for users of screen readers to understand how the page is structured. Because if you're having multiple sort of heading 1 titles, that just means that it could be a whole new page. It makes things very confusing. So just by limiting yourself to one heading 1 per page makes things a lot easier from an accessibility point of view. Both of these updates are coming at some point during September. Just quickly going back to the coloured folders option, because someone has asked, does this colour coding also work for Mac OS? It should do. We have been told it's just coming. If you look at sort of the online versions of OneDrive and SharePoint, it should be coming at some point by the end of October. And we haven't been told there's any kind of difference in release date between Windows and Mac. So I'd say just keep an eye out. By the end of October, it should be there for you no matter what system you're using. Next up, we have a new look for Outlook reminders. So the reminders window is a new notification style that is part of the overall updates coming to the new Outlook for Windows. It's a pop-out window that organises your meeting and event reminders and your task reminders in one place. So you've probably got a version of this at the moment with your Outlook app that just pops up and tells you when you have to join a meeting. This will just add in a few extra features, like so putting your tasks and other events in there as well. You'll also be able to snooze reminders, dismiss reminders, or join Teams meetings directly from the window, pretty much as you can now. So this is mostly an aesthetic change with some of those additional task reminders being put in that box as well. If you did want to enable this, just go to in Outlook for the web, go to Settings, General Notifications, which will then give you a view like the screenshot on the left. Select the for events tick box and select Reminder Pop-up. So this is due around about now. So the screenshot on the left I took yesterday. It's available in there for me at the moment, but it will depend on whether you're using the newest version of Outlook for Windows. So it will only pop up if you are using that newest version. Okay, this is the big one. This is something I've dropped the screenshots on the left in because this just goes to show you how many years and how many multiple hundreds of times people have been desperately asking for this update, and I'm one of them, and I'm so looking forward to this happening. You'll soon be able to remove your Teams calls from your mobile call log. It's one of those things that you think, this should have been so simple, this should have been so easy for Microsoft to implement years ago when people first started asking for it, but they've only just got round to it, and just thank goodness they have now. So Microsoft have announced that Teams users can soon choose if they want to have their Teams calls and meetings displayed in their device's call logs on iOS. So if, like me, you make the majority of your calls from your phone from just using the recent calls tab, you have a select few people that you call regularly and it's just easier to find their number there. You will have experienced the annoyance of having all of your Teams calls also cluttering up that recent calls area. The number of times I've accidentally dialed my manager at some unforsaken time of night, that it's just, this will stop it happening, and I'm so pleased about it. So you can see on the screenshot on the right, this is what it will look like when you access Teams on your mobile phone app. You'll just have the option there to enable or disable this option from your calling settings. So when this setting is turned off, Teams meetings and calls will not be added to your users' iOS recents list. All calls and meetings that have happened prior to you sliding that button and switching it off will still be shown there, but they'll soon be pushed down by all of your other phone calls. This screenshot is just something that I've come across from a Microsoft update. At the moment, it's not available on my phone, but I will be looking every single day between now and early October, which is when Microsoft have said this will become available. So yeah, it's a very simple update. Some of you might be wondering what I'm talking about, but for others of you, I know you will have experienced this annoyance of having all of those calls appearing in your recent call lists, and this is going to finally solve that problem. So I think we can all celebrate the day that this finally appears in our phone app. Okay, so that is all the main new features that we've got this month that we're going to talk about. I just wanted to quickly remind you of Bedroq's stakeholder workshop that we offer, which is called the 8 Rocks Assessment. This is designed just to get a consensus on your priorities for your IT and your overall IT strategy. And it can be conducted face-to-face or virtually, just to make sure that everyone, all the key stakeholders in your business, are aligned with what needs to be done to improve your IT strategy. So we look at things such as which IT issues are you currently having, where you need to perhaps address cost savings, or where you could put your next round of investment to make the biggest impact for your business. There's no cost implications to taking this assessment other than a mutual investment of time. So if you are interested in taking one of these assessments, in meeting with our team, our technical team, to go through one of these with you, we would be really pleased to set that up for you, and I'll send you some details of how to do that after this webinar. So we've got some time now for some Q&A. If anyone else has some other questions they'd like to pop into the Q&A box, I will review some of those. There's a couple more in here. Someone's asked, do the accessibility changes only affect online documents? So the ones that we focused on there are particularly focused at SharePoint. So that is your SharePoint pages, which are kind of like, web pages within SharePoint. So just making sure that you have all of the accessibility options sorted for those, just so if you do have people who need to use a screen reader, they can read that in the easiest way. It's just a bit of awareness, really, because you're not going to think of these things unless you are a screen reader user, and it's just a helpful hint to make sure that you are making all of your content accessible. I think just looking at this, we've covered most of the other questions that have come in. If you do think of anything else that you would like to ask following this webinar, obviously we'll be sending out the recording and the fact sheet, so just pop me a reply to that email and we'll be able to sort out any other questions that you may have, or put you in touch with one of our technical team if it's something a bit more technical that you want to be answered. We'd be happy to help. So, coming up soon, we have the next webinar in this series, which will take place in October. So Cara is going to kindly publish that link in the announcements box for you. If you'd just like to go ahead and sign up now, just to make sure that you've got your spot reserved, you can do that now just by filling in that form. It will take place on the 5th of October. And once again, we'll be just looking at some of the latest releases across Microsoft 365. Probably, I imagine by then we'll have even more Copilot new releases coming out, because things are starting to slowly come into the public domain in terms of Copilot. So we're going to be getting some more updates on that we can talk through, along with loads of other stuff. Who knows what's coming from Microsoft? We'll do our best to keep an eye on all of that on your behalf and just make sure that you're ready to implement it in your business. So thank you very much for joining us, everyone. I really look forward to seeing you again on the 5th of October. And like I say, if you have any further questions that you'd like us to answer, please do feel free to contact us in response to the recording email that will be going out later today. Thank you very much, everyone. Goodbye.